Jacinta's strong message to Nigeria. Jacinta's viral message condemned Nigeria's handling of the Ibadan kidnapping, accusing authorities of ignoring the plight of abducted children and families. Her remarks have fueled public outrage and intensified calls for urgent government action. The Oyo State Police Command confirmed the abduction, stating investigations are ongoing. Strongly critical, accusing Nigerian authorities of ignoring kidnappings of toddlers and school children. Sparked heated debate online, with many Nigerians echoing her frustration over rising insecurity. Her message resonated with citizens who feel the government is not doing enough to protect vulnerable communities. Kidnappings in Oyo State highlight Nigeria's broader struggle with banditry and abductions. Religious leaders and communities are combining prayer with calls for concrete action, reflecting both spiritual and civic urgency. Public figures like Jacinta amplify grassroots demands for accountability, forcing authorities to respond more visibly. Jacinta's viral criticism has become a rallying point for Nigerians demanding stronger security measures. The Ibadan kidnapping case underscores the vulnerability of even prominent community leaders. Authorities are under pressure to deliver results, as public trust erodes with each unresolved abduction. Jacinta's message was a wake-up call to Nigeria on the Ibadan kidnapping, with a blunt reminder of how insecurity is eroding trust in government and leaving families vulnerable. Her message was not just about one abduction, it was a broader critique of Nigeria's inability to protect its citizens. She accused Nigerian leaders of failing to prioritize safety, especially for women and children. Her words carried urgency, urging Nigerians to rise above silence and demand accountability. She framed Nigeria's insecurity as a regional threat, suggesting that instability in Africa's largest nation destabilizes the continent. Nigerians already weary of banditry, abductions, and ransom demands saw Jacinta's message as echoing their own anger. Social media gave her words viral reach, turning a local tragedy into a national wake-up call. Nigeria's government faces mounting pressure to prove it can protect citizens. Churches and associations are combining prayer with activism, demanding military and police intervention. Jacinta's intervention highlights how external voices can intensify domestic debates on governance and accountability. Jacinta's wake-up call is less about her personal activism and more about forcing Nigeria to confront a crisis it can no longer ignore. Watch the video and do not forget to like, drop your comments, share and subscribe for more updates.
This is what is currently happening right now in Nigeria. Toddlers are amongst 50 school children kidnapped in Nigeria. And mind you, this is not the first time it's happening. This is a regular occurrence. It happens all the time. Because there is a belief that there's some Islamic terrorist groups that are kidnapping children. Why have you not heard about it as much as you've heard about the xenophobia? We need the same energy that Nigerians have been investing in making TikTok videos, shouting to the AU, shouting in their parliament about this, as much as they are making noise about xenophobia. The same xenophobia that doesn't have a single person who's died so far, but they keep creating it. Now you have women and children and toddlers that are being kidnapped in your country. But you are more worried about so-called xenophobia in South Africa when you know very well that week in and week out, South Africans are showing you videos of Nigerian drug dealers running wild in the streets. And you guys want to tell us about African unity. If all these people across the African continent are serious about African unity, let's stand up for these toddlers. Let us stand up for these toddlers. The amount of noise and the amount of videos, the amount of TikToks, the amount of pressure that you are putting on South Africans about so-called xenophobia that doesn't exist because we were marching on the streets. We need that energy right now. That is the energy we need to save these children. And if you don't put in that much energy, then you are hypocrites. You are hypocrites. Because we need to see this African unity, this Pan-Africanism that you always talk about, this one Africa, there's no foreigner in Africa now, because these children need that energy right now more than ever. We need all these governments who are writing letters to our government about fake xenophobia to write to the Nigerian government, to write to the AU, to write to the Pan-Africanism Parliament, write to whoever and talk about this. We need that energy from the United Nations chairperson who was speaking about so-called xenophobia and how bad South Africa is. We need him to come now and talk about this. We need all that money that you keep putting in to keep these refugees and so-called asylum seekers that you keep in South Africa. Use that money to save these little girls. Save these little girls. Because we don't want this double standardness that you guys are doing right now. Now we need your voice. Add your voice. If you are busy making noise about South Africa and xenophobia, make noise about this. We are waiting. We'll help make it trend. Save these toddlers. And these same Nigerian men that had big mouths to talk about South African men being useless, what. One thing I know is that us as South Africans, we would have been out on the streets by now if this was happening in our country. We would have been out in the streets if this was happening in our country. So we want you now to prove yourselves, because you've been running your mouths about South Africa. But you can't keep quiet now if something this big is happening in your country. You can't be invested in South Africa if something this big is happening in your country. So we are demanding that you save these toddlers. And it calls for all of you who are making videos about South Africa to stand up for these toddlers. They didn't ask to be born in an African country that cannot protect us. That's why we stand up and protect our country, because this is exactly what we don't want to happen in our country. We don't want this to happen. So you have a responsibility, all of you who are making videos about South Africans, and even those same South Africans who are defending so-called xenophobia, who are calling it Afrophobia, you have a responsibility to speak up about this as much as you are speaking up about xenophobia. Don't do the double standards thing. These children need you. And it's not about proving points here. It's about saving these children. We need that energy. We need that noise that you are making for these children. They didn't ask for this. So stand up and speak up about it.
Guys, something is currently happening in Nigeria that the world is not talking about. People are not actually talking about it because toddlers are being kidnapped in Nigeria, and 50 other students were kidnapped in Nigeria. And I asked myself this question: for how long would kidnapping be abolished in Nigeria? And you see our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, sir, I don't know if you are hearing all those things that's happening in Nigeria. I don't know if you're listening to the news, if you're seeing videos, because this is actually something of particular concern in Nigeria that needs to be looked into. You've not finished talking about the Boko Haram thing, Boko Haram crisis. Now we're talking about kidnappers. Toddlers, 50 children. These are people's children. These are people's children. You call yourself the giants of Africa. I don't understand. What giant? What giant is this? Giants that watches their children being kidnapped, being unalived on a daily basis. As a Nigerian, I'm tired. Like most times, there are times even to talk about the news happening in my country gives me, gives me this phobia. It gives me this, I don't know. Most times whenever I talk about the news in my country, I have this heart palpitation, like my heart beats so fast because I don't know who is next. I don't know who is next, and our governments are not doing anything about it. That is the worst part. Our governments are not doing nothing.
Jacinta has come forward with questions to Nigerians to say, okay, you have been on social media, all over social media, talking about xenophobia that is happening in South Africa and failing to address the issue that is happening in your country. Because now it has been said, Uguti, there are some situations that are happening that side, kids being kidnapped, and, a lot is happening. And it really does make sense, a lot of sense, to say, why are you after things that don't even matter, especially with this one of xenophobia in South Africa, wara wara. This one, it really does not matter when it comes to kids. Young kids being kidnapped, guys. At this point, I understand why Nigerians are being called out everywhere. I've never seen Ghanaians being called like in other countries to say Ghanaians must not come their side. This nationality must not come their side. It's always Nigerians. You can just imagine this gender is also happening in their own country. They do this in their own country. Like, what's going on, guys? What is going on in this world? Like, when it comes to kids and these things, these chaos situations that are happening that side, I can tell you, this violence that is happening in South Africa is nothing compared to this one. It is nothing compared to this one because those kids are someone's kids. Can you imagine the pain that the parents are going through right now? And now you are focusing on something that you can fix. Yes. You said this one of South Africans are xenophobic, what. You can easily pack your bags and leave. But those ones that have lost their kids, they will not get the kids back.
Jacinta's wake-up call to Nigeria is shaking the nation. Her bold words on the Ibadan kidnapping raised tough questions. Has she made a valid point, or is she being too critical? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. Don't forget to like this video if you agree that Nigeria needs urgent action. Subscribe now and stay updated on every development in the Ibadan kidnapping case. Thanks for watching.